Introducing the African Diaspora News Channel app, your gateway to stories that's overlooked by the corporate mainstream media.
And we serve as the voice to the Truba Black community.
Again, we got Dr. Candace Matthews.
A lot of these documents, looking at.
We are committed to informing and educating through the power of media.
This country is supposed to be about the land of the free for all. It has not been free for Black people, and we are tired.
With our platform, we're helping to end injustice by exposing it.
Join us in standing for excellence in journalism and serving our community. Download the African Diaspora News app today.
If there's one African president that has earned the title of Master of Doublespeak, it's Kenya's President William Ruto. A while back, when he was speaking to Mo Ibrahim in Nairobi, he said that African leaders will not be summoned left, right, and center by these world superpowers in the name of wanting to talk to them. It's time Africa works as a collective. If you want to talk to Africa, talk to us through the AU. And then the AU can be able to negotiate better terms for Africa and ensure that everybody gets an equitable piece of the pie. Please tell me why, ever since making that statement, President William Ruto's jet engine has just been hot because he's traveling from one place to another, and it's not stopping anytime soon.
It will not going to be business as usual. We have these meetings, Africa, US meeting, Africa, Europe, Africa, Turkey, Africa,
India.
Now we are waiting for, there is another one, Africa, Russia.
And Africa, Japan.
And Africa, Japan. We have made the decision that it is not intelligent for 54 of us to go and sit before one gentleman from another place. And sometimes we are mistreated.
Yeah.
We are loaded into buses like school kids. And it's not right.
Well, you are summoned,
It's not right. So the decision that we have made as AU is that going forward, if there is going to be a discussion between Africa and any other country, we are going to be represented by the chair, the outgoing chair, the bureau.
The chair of the commission, or the chair,
and the chair of the Rex, and we have 5 Rex. That should be sufficient.
Okay.
For a meeting of maybe 6, 7. Yeah. That should be able to represent Africa, and that is the position I am taking as the president of Kenya.
Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of our conversations. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I am a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. I love coming on here, having conversations with you guys about Black people, Africans, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. Connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga. A while back, President William Ruto, fresh into power, with vim and zeal, he was championing the African agenda, ready to work for Kenyans. He was the ultimate Pan-African, got on stage, unprovoked. Nobody asked him to say this. He took the microphone, seized the moment, and said that Africa is done being summoned by the rest of the world. It's not good that African leaders keep getting summoned left, right, and center. There's this US summit, there's this Russia summit, there's this Korea summit, there was an Italy summit, there's a France summit, there's a summit every single day where African leaders are forced, every single one of them, to get on a flight, travel the world in a bid to try and negotiate better deals for their people. But the problem with this is that, as Dr. Arikana Chiambori says, African countries are very small. A country like Burundi, a country like Lesotho, they can't get a deal as good as, say, a country like Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, Egypt. They cannot compete on that scale, right? And this opens the door for certain African countries to be taken advantage of or to be given the shorter end of the stick. And so it only made sense that Africa speaks with one accord. What is the African agenda? Of course, we have Africa 2063. That's the development blueprint. So how do we ensure that when we are going to the negotiation table, we are going as Agenda Africa 2063? So whatever it is that we get is aligned to the fine blueprint of developing the African continent, and that everybody gets an equitable and just piece of this pie. Makes sense up to there, right? We're all together. I like what President William Ruto said. Oh, what a thoughtful, visionary leader. Oh, what a Pan-African. He finished that session and warmed the jet, jumped on it, and began gallivanting the world, because this is not even traveling. This is gallivanting the world. Kenyans joke that President William Ruto literally wanted to be president to fulfill his travel fantasies, because the way this man is traveling, I am yet to see an African, even a world leader. Anthony Blinken does not travel as much as William Ruto travels. His fantasy of traveling the world is coming true as president. Of course, his wife is also living her fantasy of bringing all the popular religious leaders into Kenya and living her spiritual girl fantasy. But let's focus on her husband. President William Ruto has traveled so much. Most recently, he was in the US, right? And this trip was the most controversial trip because he hired a private jet for nearly 200 million Kenya shillings. But the president, because of outrage in the country, came out to say, no, the jet only cost 10 million. It was given to me by my friends. Literally what he's saying is he accepted bribe. Or for what? Kenya has a national carrier. And if you understand the history of Africa, you'll know how privileged Kenya is to have a national carrier. Of course, Kenya Airways has its own problems, but Kenya Airways is one of those airlines that has been in business on the African continent for a long time. Great connectivity. This would have been a brilliant marketing opportunity for the national carrier. To see the president land in the national carrier getting down the wings of KQ, no, he decided to get a private jet and then walked back on it. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is we know exactly what the US is giving Kenya, but we don't know what the US wants from Kenya. They're giving them money from a bill that is aimed to grow the chip industry. They're giving them money to build a data center, a cloud center. Of course, there are conversations about trade and just how to improve and fortify relations between US and Kenya, particularly marking 60 years of relationships. But what does the US want in return? At what price did you sell Kenyans and the country for? As if that trip is not even enough, when he was done defending himself, he jumped on another plane. You cannot make this up. And he was off to the Korea-Africa summit. The same summit that he said that African leaders should not be summoned to go. He is there. He is there. I don't know if you guys comprehend what this actually means. The world then stops treating African leaders seriously because they cannot walk the talk. They keep backtracking on their word. How then do I know you're a man of your word if you keep changing your mind over and over and over again? How do you say that the African Union is the one that's going to be negotiating for you in the summits, and then the moment we call, even the email has not spent 5 minutes in your inbox, you've already responded and you're ready to jump on a flight and go? Then what is the use of your foreign affairs minister? What is the use of your trade minister? What's the use of your tourism minister? If you have people in your cabinet that you cannot use, that you cannot delegate these duties to, what is their use? And I think African Union has been a toothless bulldog for far too long. They also need to stand up 10 toes on business and say, listen, we're being taken advantage of here. Because do you know what it's becoming? Divide and conquer, right? There's certain African countries that get favor because of their strategic location, because of their resources, because of their labor, because of just the general investor sentiment. And if you take advantage of that thinking that you're favored, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because they're ensuring that smaller countries and countries that do not have your competitive advantage remain impoverished. And so you cannot move and grow as one block, and you can never have a voice at the negotiation table because you'll always feel like they're doing you a favor. There is no developing Africa if the whole continent cannot develop. And I think that it's high time also African leaders stop being selfish. Walk the talk. If you say that we're going to talk as Africa, we want to see Africa at the table, not Kenya, not Ghana, Africa. We want to see the African Union, and we want to see representation that represents the whole continent at that table. Because trust you me, if Burundi is not doing well, the progress that Kenya makes is in vain, because movement of people, then they will start looking for greener pastures where you are, and that just overwhelms system. If you built your system for 1 million people and you have an influx of another 1 million people, your system then becomes null and void. So the whole continent has to develop as one. And that's the reason why the African Union needs to start putting pressure on leaders like President William Ruto and say, when we go to the negotiation table, it's the Africa agenda. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you again in the next video.